Welcome to Healthy Skeptics. We're a sarcastic mom-daughter duo taking on life, wellness, and all the trends that make us roll our eyes. I'm Dr. Michele, the functional medicine practitioner who's been...
Welcome back to Healthy Skeptics. So this week, we're going to just, do our normal, but there's some stuff that came up this week. Actually, it kind of came up last week.
I was going to say, it came up before the podcast last week, and at the end of last podcast, I said, we're going to talk about the thing that really made me mad last week. But,
so now we're going to talk about it this week.
I don't know.
So I'm not going to lead anything this week.
No,
this is not
going to make me lead it, which will be awkward.
It's not in my wheelhouse. But it'll be a fun conversation. So, take it away.
Oh, great.
What pissed you off?
Oh, okay. So your sister is decided to go to nursing school.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's in a microbiology class, and her instructor asked her, in fact, I have to look at it because I'm going to get it wrong. It was an assignment in my mind. Oh my God. I literally lost it. And we were actually at a trampoline park with her kids, and she was like, Mom, you gotta be quiet. And I'm like, no, this makes me so crazy mad.
But okay, before you read the assignment, maybe why does this kind of stuff make you, or I guess you have to read the assignment first.
Yeah. Otherwise, who would know why I was upset?
I guess. Yeah. But
so here's the assignment. So the teacher gave her a video to watch from PBS. I will reserve comment there. And it said,
wait, what's wrong with PBS?
Really? Don't.
Wait, no, for real.
Hopefully. Oh, because you're thinking what? What are you thinking?
I don't know. We were kids. There's so many good PBS.
There were the Magic School Bus and I loved Constitute. What was it called? What's your Schoolhouse Rock?
Schoolhouse.
No, was it
Schoolhouse?
Yeah, it was Schoolhouse Rock. Anyway, that was that was it. Yeah, those were fun. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Like I said, I'm not going into PBS. But here was the assignment: was watch this video, which I'm sure was not biased at all. And it said, we didn't watch it.
We should have watched it.
We should have watched it. And you know what?
But who has time to watch an hour and a half video you don't want to watch?
Yeah, but maybe we'll have time to watch it. And we can comment on that as well. Okay. And here's the assignment. Describe why pediatricians are to be trusted rather than celebrities like Jenny McCarthy or Robert Kennedy Jr. Is correlation the same as causation? Explain why autism cannot possibly be caused by the MMR vaccine. What's different today about parents? What is different about today's parents from parents in the 50s and 60s that makes them question the need for vaccinating their children? And then research the fraudulent vaccine work of Andrew Wakefield. My blood was freaking boiling after the first frickin' sentence, but then it got down to that one, and that one made me absolutely insane.
Okay, so
So I'm just
wait. Okay, go ahead. No, go ahead.
So here's why these things made me mad. First of all, the first thing that made me mad is this instructor. This is medical education. This is a teacher, and I don't care what you're teaching. As a teacher, you should be teaching people how to critically think, how to make comparisons, how to research, how to come to their own conclusion. Her entire assignment was one-sided, and you support what I believe about facts, and then you tell me why,
I'm right.
Why I'm right. Yeah, basically.
Well, that's the thing. I think
that was the first thing out of that made me mad.
Right. And to the point is maybe you're reading all of that and you may agree with her, but the point is how it's presented. You should allow your students to come to their own conclusion.
Absolutely. Go do the research for yourself. Yeah. Go write to me and tell me, what your opinion is. What conclusion did you come to? What is correlation and causation?
Yeah.
How does this work? Right? It's no, all I want you to do is go and look at this biased, because I watched about 15 minutes of it. I couldn't even.
What was it?
It's
just the video?
The PBS video is called Vaccines Calling the Shots.
Okay.
So, anyway, and I watched the first few minutes of it, and what I really want to do is write down all the lies in their video and then counter them with facts.
But you'd have to support that
with facts,
with research,
with actual science. But that's beside the point. My point was that what made me mad is she's not giving these students an opportunity to think for themselves, to do the research, come to their own conclusions, and to support why they came to that conclusion.
And
that's not what she's doing. Is indoctrination, not education.
And do you think that that's what's happening? Because you're like, okay, what makes me angry is this is medical education. So
Yes.
is this, when you were in med school or whatever, med school, nursing school, grad school, whatever, when you were getting your medical education,
which I got with all the doctors.
Yes, but
students.
was it the same? Like, is this what medical education is?
That's the thing, yes. And if you think about it, and maybe you want to go to medical education is sponsored by pharmaceutical support. And the funding that goes to all of them, and there aren't that many med schools, honestly, really. And so, and they're funded by pharmaceutical companies and so they're taught one way to think, not even to think. They're indoctrinated
like this,
right? Yeah.
Okay.
So that made me crazy.
Then what's the fraudulent? Because you got so mad.
Oh, I do. I'm telling you. So that would be a whole nother podcast talking about what happened to Andrew Wakefield. Dr. Andrew Wakefield was a gastroenterologist, and he was noticing these kids having autism, which has increased exponentially. What is attributed to him is that he said there was a direct relationship between getting the MMR vaccine.
Or was it? Did it say correlation?
He didn't say it. It wasn't in his literature. All he was noticing was that the kids that were coming into his practice were having problems, whatever, the list of problems.
Yeah.
So he didn't ever say it was caused by anything.
Got it.
Ever. But because at that time there was a noticeable increase in autism and other autism spectrum cases. Thank you.
Yep.
And he was the only one that was, kind of talking about things he was noticing in his practice.
Right.
Like the world came down on him. He lost his medical license. And you can go out and look, you can find it.
Yeah.
It's probably been scrubbed. But I have the original research. I have the paper. I printed it because I never wanted to lose it.
Yeah.
And it is not. He never, ever said it. Ever said it.
Cost.
Yeah. Ever.
Yeah.
And so
he was talking about some correlation.
Yes. Yeah. And
there's some kind of relationship. I'm not sure what it is.
And here's research: the fraudulent vaccine work. It wasn't doing vaccine work.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the thing, right? So here now you have biased a group of individuals you're supposed to be teaching. Maybe she needs to go back and look at the word teach and what that means. But she has biased them by saying the fraudulent work up. Anyway.
Yeah, you could have easily just been like, go look up the work of Andrew Wakefield, let me know your
exactly,
and just see what people came up with.
Exactly.
Like you could have.
This is indoctrination.
She wanted to teach them a certain
point of view.
Yeah, because what if they went
called indoctrination?
Right. So what if they went and saw the research or whatever, his paper, and they're like, oh well, that's interesting, and they wrote about it from a different point of view, then it wouldn't got it.
So that made me mad, and then there's all other stuff that we need to go into.
What other stuff?
Just all we talking about the vaccines, which then because we were talking about this, it brought us to a conversation of
the measles outbreaks. Well, you don't have to put it in quotation because it's really it is happening.
Sure,
it's not happening. Okay. The quotes. Do you know what how you use quotation?
Because it's fake.
Yes, but it's not fake.
Okay.
Outbreaks. There are more reported measles cases than we've had in a while, or it's just being broadcast that way.
I was going to say that's part of this is that, like I was saying, when I was a kid, you only knew what happened in your own community. Right? I mean, it was just what happened in my community, and now we know what happens in every
corner of everything.
Exactly. And then they take it and they just like this particular professor, the media does the same thing. You need to sell people need to be watching you and talking about you and clicking on you and doing all these things. So everything is sensationalized. And it's like, ooh, measles outbreak. how many cases are there?
500 in
Texas.
Yeah. Which is
It's the biggest state in the
yes,
country.
yes.
Okay. So, and some of it is, people being here from other countries, that are coming from other countries, because they do, you become very, when we all are living together for long periods of time,
we're all passing the same stuff back and forth.
Yeah, nothing new really gets introduced. And now, we've had an influx of people from other countries that have brought new disease or different disease.
Or different strains of similar diseases.
Exactly. Yeah. So,
there's that.
There's that piece. And then Texas. Okay, yes. Texas is a border state. So that does have some play.
Right.
But what they're trying to do is blame it on all of the people who have chosen not to vaccinate children, which should be a choice. Just like any other choice we have medically. You want to ever say to me, my body, my choice, then you do not get to say to me that you're going to inject me with something that I don't feel is appropriate for me. That's all I'm saying. It's like, so we should have the choice. We should be able to make that choice. Mm-hmm. So they're blaming it on the parents who have made the choice not to vaccinate. And in addition, we have an influx of people that are coming and bringing their own variations. to diseases. Yeah. So what was the question you asked when we were talking? Because my husband and I were talking, we're like, we had measles parties growing up.
And same thing with the chickenpox parties, which we had when we were kids.
Yeah, you had chickenpox parties.
And now there's vaccines for the chickenpox too. But what I was
saying, they have now combined with the MMR. Now it's called the MMR.
Right.
So now you're getting 4 shots in one.
Right. But what I was saying is, part of this is like, there's been deaths. There's been measles deaths.
Okay. The two reported deaths.
Yes.
2.
Yes.
In all these amazing outbreaks that people have had.
Yeah.
2. Now I wouldn't want to be those parents, but I don't know about the second one because it just occurred and I didn't have a chance to look it up. But the first one was the child had a particular strain of pneumonia, and a medical error was made in the choice of the antibiotic. He had the measles prior to getting the pneumonia. 2 weeks prior. Now, measles can cause respiratory difficulty, and sometimes the measles can can develop pneumonia.
Yeah.
But that was a medical error that with the antibiotic that happened that caused that child's death. Very unfortunate. Was not because of the measles. Mm-hmm. The measles were gone. Did not have any evidence of measles other than the parents saying he had measles.
And we don't know about the second case yet. So right.
Yeah, I know, and I didn't look it up before we started talking today.
But what I was saying is, I looked at you and I said, I'm actually genuinely concerned that Dayla is probably not going to get the chickenpox as a kid. Yeah. Like, we all had it, and she probably won't get it. And the concern there is that, again, there are so with any illness, disease, whatever, like the strains, there's so many different variations, and they're like built to survive, right? Correct. So they're going to adapt and change and shift. And this is why vaccines don't last long term anyways, because some of these don't even.
There's a lot of reasons why vaccines don't last.
That's one of them. They only have like a couple year cap on them, and there's just so many different variations. And it's like, I'm concerned my kid's not going to get it. Then she's going to become an adult. And some of these diseases are scarier as you get older. Chickenpox being one of them. And I was like, she's not going to have any immunity to any of it, regardless if she got the vaccine or not when she was a kid. But it's not because people are getting vaccinated so early, and we're so hyper sensitive to illness now. We're quarantining our kids for every little thing. Like, it's like, how are you supposed to build a healthy immune system? We're over using all the antibiotic soaps and the hand sanitizers. Now, what drove me bananas is, I live in a neighborhood of kids and lots of teenagers, and there's a specific brand that came out, and they targeted teenagers for what is it? Gosh, I can't. The hand sanitizer. Yeah. And they're so cute. And they're like these little vials, and they're adorable, and they're keychains, and all these teenagers are carrying them around. They're different colors, and they're like really targeting these kids. They want them to use more antibacterial stuff. And I'm like, we are just destroying their little immune systems. And even if I don't,
we're making superbugs, which
right,
we've been doing
forever. But I'm like, even if I don't do that with my child, she's not going to be exposed the same way I was.
Yeah.
And that actually scares me for
reproductively, you know, like chickenpox traditionally. I mean, it is
if you get it as an adult.
If you get it as an adult, yeah.
But yeah, for men it's worse.
Men it's bad, really bad. Women, not, you know, if a woman were pregnant and got chickenpox, not so great for the fetus. So I mean, there's, you know, there are some long-term implications for adults getting that, you know, and like you say, not being exposed at this moment in time because we're either quarantining or, you know, just not. And the thing is with vaccines do shed. That is scientific proof, fact. You know, people can argue the other side, but I'd say show it to me. And so, you know, you can be in a group of people and like, you know, I would find out whose kids are getting vaccinated for varicella and then steal it with them because to probably get the chickenpox out of that, or the measles. Either
way. And it's not like you want your kid, and this is going to be misinterpreted, I'm sure. Like, I want her to get sick. And it's not that. It's just that.
Well, it used to be a rite of passage.
Well, it's not even that. It's just, we all know, like we were talking, because when you went to nursing school, they lined you up and you got all your vaccines. You're not nursing school.
When I grew up in military. So we went, but there were only like 5 shots, so it didn't really matter. But they lined us up. We went through a concert hut, and literally people just shot you in the arm as you walked down the line.
Right. And how old were you?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, old enough to remember, so probably 8, 9 years old.
Right. And then when you went to become a nurse, you had to do a titer test.
I had to do titer test. Yeah. Yes.
And to test your immunity for all of these different things. And you had none of them except chickenpox because you had it when you were a kid. That's what I'm talking about. It's not that I want my kid to get sick. It's that, like, when we're talking about long-term health, being exposed to some of these things that aren't.
Well, that's where you get natural immunity. That's where you actually, your body actually can recognize it if it pops up again. That's
and evolve.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because if it's the natural immunity, it'll recognize any variation.
Yeah. Because the proteins still remain, the major proteins of the disease still remain the same, and so that your body would recognize it.
Right.
The other thing that's really interesting, you know, thinking about this. So I went and got the titers, except for chickenpox, or varicella. So I had to get shots because, you know, you're not immune, and I just take it on myself, like, you know, whatever. So I got the shots. I don't convert. So I actually had to get them 3 times. And on the 3rd time, I said, I'm not doing this anymore. And I had to go and I actually found research to say, you know, like, I'm not going to immunoconvert. It's not going to happen. My body basically takes whatever comes in and says.
Okay, so that could be why they didn't. Right?
No, but I'm just saying there are people that. So what am I being protected against? My body already does that for me. I don't need, you know, this external thing that's going to wear out. Why do you get boosters? This is so magical. Why am I getting a booster? Why am I boostering kids every 3 to 6 months? Why am I continual? And then when you go to grade school, and then when you go to middle school, and then when you go to high school, and then when you go to college.
It's because they don't want it.
No, she's kidding.
Well, then,
what's the point to them then? Why not just get the natural disease and go through it? It's not
for some of them.
Not going to kill you, honest to goodness. Like, you know, unless you're immunocompromised, and in which case then I would be quarantining you if your friends were having. I wouldn't give you a vaccine because it's going to work long term. What's the point?
Yeah.
What's the point? You know, so that's kind of, you know.
Yeah. There's a lot with the whole vaccine thing, but I just, with everything coming out with measles, and then this is, I guess he got up yesterday?
This morning. I noticed that it was on the news this morning, and he said, he, meaning our junior, said, the only way to protect yourself is to get MMR vaccine. And I sat there and I went, did I see that? I had to go look it up. Because I'm like, did he really say it? Because sometimes things are twisted and whatever. And I don't. He really said it. And but besides telling me, he just spent the last 20 years fighting this. I mean, like even in his campaigning, everything, like, so now you
This
flip.
is why you, yes, this is why you can't, okay, I said this back in, I don't even know, before the election. I was like, this is so dumb. This whole make America healthy again stuff, like, it's so dumb.
Yeah, but you had hope, and we had hope. Don't shame me for my hope.
Not to mention,
don't
the movement itself was so unbelievably shallow. Oh gosh, but I mean, like, it's just whatever. It's all a joke.
I know.
I
but
have
anyway,
feelings about that.
But
and who knows? We'll probably, we're reacting to something that just happened, so maybe we'll come out and be like, okay, we have more information. Here's how we feel today.
Yeah,
because opinions shift, and as you learn more, but
I was gonna say this is a knee jerk on that one,
yeah,
for sure. But on the medical education, though, that's the thing that's been bothering me really, really long. Mm-hmm. And even when I was in school, I stood up to instructors more than one time to say, you know, keep your opinion to yourself. That's not what I'm here for. That's not what I'm here to learn. What happened? They shut up.
Really?
Oh, every time. Are you kidding?
That's actually surprising. I would think that.
Who ever challenges anybody? Nobody ever, like, stand up. If it
Did you get that grade?
No, they couldn't. At that point, everybody heard me. So it's like, try me. I had one instructor. Oh, I was so mad. I had one instructor. She was an adjunct out of Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
And she actually, I don't even remember the topic anymore. Man, it was research. And I completely disagree. I mean, she was, one of these. Parrot back what I'm telling you.
Okay.
I was like, no. And so I did a deep research dive. I wish I could remember what it was exactly. Yeah. And she writes back to me and says, and it was so good. And she writes something back and she's like, well, this is completely false. And I'm like, well, I'm supporting it with research.
Right.
Show me your research. I mean, we went back and forth.
Well, did she?
And no, she
never
ever could produce anything.
Yeah.
And so then I said, and she's like, well, I'm sorry, but she's like, I can't give you a good grade for this. And I said, well, you better, or I'll be talking to the dean of the program, and you probably won't be teaching here anymore because my paper is perfect. It's perfectly researched. I have support for everything. I've met all of your criteria except for parroting back your opinion.
Except for agreeing with you.
So she gave me a B plus. I was pissed because it should have been an A, but that was it. Like, that was the worst grade.
But didn't you have issues getting your doctorate thesis approved?
No, well, the thing with my doctorate thesis was there was one I wanted to do,
which was
my project was around it was
literacy.
It was cancer literacy.
Yeah,
I wanted to do cancer literacy because of just experiences I've been having, and so I was really angry with how when you're diagnosed with cancer, they basically just fearmonger you,
right?
Lack of a better word, and don't give you options and only present one thing. And I mean, it just was a whole thing. So I wanted to talk about cancer literacy, and my sponsor for the project, she didn't like that. Mm-hmm. So I had to amend it to health literacy, and then
why didn't she like it?
I think because it was too close to home. She had cancer.
Yeah.
And I think maybe I was probably going to step on some toes.
Oh, really? No.
But I think that, I think too, it was also very close to home, and she's very conventional, and, it just didn't feel good to her to, be championing my project. And so I said, well, I still want to do health literacy, something in the health literacy, arena. And so it came down to health literacy in the older population around diabetes,
which was really good.
It was
really good, and it was really eye-opening of how the lack thereof.
Well, yeah, and especially the older population, because there's so many things to be considered within the older population, and so, I mean, besides their physiology, their ability to understand, the conditioning of their entire life to just believe whatever the white coat says, never question. I mean, there's just so many things, so So I mean, it was a good project, just wasn't the one I wanted.
Yeah. There's a lot with that. That's actually, that came up this week too, with some of the health literacy among the older generation. I think what they do to, what the medical community does to the older generation, and I'm talking probably like 75 and over, is disgusting.
Oh, it really is. They're basically like what do you call it? Like railroading them into decisions that
because they're throwaway.
Yeah.
They're like, well, we'll just do the easiest thing, or you don't have time to really do all of the other things, so we'll just go straight to the surgery or the thing that makes us the most money or whatever it is. And they don't take time to the lack of explanation of anything. It's bad with my age.
Oh yeah,
it's on a whole other level with people 75. It's gross. And personal experience, something happening with like my grandma right now. I won't get into it's her stuff, but we're just seeing it firsthand. And but it was a good product.
It was, like I said, it just wasn't the one I wanted. Yeah, I love working with it. So that part was fun. I just didn't get my blood going. Like
not everything
has to get,
not everything has to get your blood going. But anyways, so that was it today.
That was our week.
That was this week. That's what we were talking about this week, behind the scenes. And again, like we may do a part 2 on this next week as more information, especially with all the measles things comes out. Yeah. But initial knee-jerk reaction because some of it literally yesterday and this morning. And we just kind of vowed to hop on here from now on and talk about the things that we talk about behind the scenes. And so that's what we did. Yeah. And that was this week. Those are the conversations that we were having. So, anywho, we will see y'all here next week. Yeah. Comment, leave questions,
we
have differing
Yeah,
opinions, whatever.
Please.
We've had multiple people be like,
they disagree with us.
They disagree with us strongly, and
that's okay.
We like having those conversations.
We do.
So,
we're definitely open to that. We're not gonna shut you down and go, well, we're right.
Yeah,
we might provide you with new information that you haven't ever had before that you can make your own decisions on. But we're happy to have a conversation. Or you may have something that we don't know.
Yeah,
different perspective. So appreciate that.
Anywho, we'll see you next time.
See you next time.